Hi, Stampers! Surprise! I was sitting here in my stamp room. Just a minute, I gotta double check. I want to get my feed open here and see if I can see any comments here. I was in my stamp room, stamping, of course, while my husband is out cutting wood. And I thought that I would just pop on my Facebook Live here and kind of show you what I'm making and show you a technique actually that some of my customers asked about. I was playing around with it today and thought it might be great to share it with all of you. It's really nice sunshiny day outside, but I've been looking forward to stamping all week, and I got all of my work done this morning that I wanted to get done, and so I've been spending some time in my stamp room. I actually just recorded a video. I'm going to show you the card I made. I just got done recording it for I would call it a contest that I'm going to enter it in, a challenge, if you will. Kylie Bertucci's International Blog Hop Challenge, and I'll be posting that to my YouTube, I think either later today or this week. Not sure when that'll go up, but watch my blog for it because that was a really fun card to make, and I show you the emboss resist technique. But right now, I'm actually going to show you a cool technique with your embossing folders. Your embossing folders. Hi, Carol. You're going to love this because you and Sue actually asked me about this technique. So that's what gave me the idea to come on here and show you guys how to use your embossing folders for more than just embossing on your paper and creating that raised image. So I'm not gonna wait around too long here. I'm just getting my space ready for people to show up because nobody knows I'm going live. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, and if you're seasick, oh, good morning, Wynn from New York. Wow. Is it as cold there as it is here? It's actually warm here compared to how it's been, but we still have snow, and I don't know what it's like over there in New York. If you've got a lot of snow or if it's nice and feeling like spring is finally coming. I'm going to flip the camera around, so if you get seasick or motion sickness, just kind of close your eyes. I have this camera stand and I have to adjust a few things, so just bear with me. Okay, I want to get this as straight as I can, huh? Okay. Okay. I think that'll have to be good enough, right? Got everything I need. Okay, so I was playing around with my embossing folders, and my friends Carol and Sue had found a card on Pinterest that they loved, and Sue had asked me if I could show them how to make it. So I thought, well, I'm going to show everybody how to make it. The card that they showed me had some trees kind of peeking out behind the embossed. This is the Woodland Textures embossing folder, and it had some trees kind of peeking behind this, and I think the card that they found was a Christmas card. So I'm going to stamp here and show you how to do this technique. I'm not going to do a full card because I want you to get the idea of different sentiments you could use. But you can stamp right into your embossing folders. And to do that technique, that's exactly what they're doing here. So I've got my Always Artichoke ink, and I'm going to use the tree. Let me grab the stamp set I'm using. I'm going to use the tree from the Lovely as a Tree stamp set. So this is one of my favorites. I think I've heard a rumor that this might be one of the oldest stamp sets that Stampin' Up! Sells. I'm not 100% sure. If anybody knows that, chime in, because I think that's pretty cool that they keep carrying it over and it's very popular. It's one of my favorites. So I've got this mounted. I've got my Always Artichoke. Gonna get this inked up. Now, whoops, my stamp's coming off here. I have got a scrap piece of paper here because, okay, so first of all, before you do this, you need to identify on your embossing folder which part is going to be popped up and which part is going to be debossed or recessed, okay? So when I'm feeling here, these trees, they're going this way. So that means when I fold this and put it through my Big Shot, these trees are going to pop up out of the card, and this side, because they're raised, these trees are going to push back into my card. And the part that I want on the front are the trees that are going to be popped up towards me. So that's the side I want to stamp on. Got my... Now, in this particular folder, I like the branches going up, and there's a crease here. So I've got a scrap piece of paper so that I can stamp. Now, these areas in between the trees are flat, and that's where we want to stamp. And I'm going to do the trees at different heights here because I want it to look like, you know, the pine trees behind them are kind of realistic, like you would see in a forest. And I'm not pushing all that hard, just enough to get the trees stamped onto that area of my embossing folder. Okay, now I don't want to get ink all over my paper. I'm just going to move this out of the way. I'm bringing in my Big Shot. Hopefully this doesn't jiggle around my camera too much. Okay, now I've got my layer cut. And remember, this is the side I stamped, so I'm going to line it up on the back here with the bottom of these trees as straight as I can. And I'm going to close that folder, being very careful not to move my paper around in there. And we're going to run this through the Big Shot. Okay, now again, being really careful not to touch this ink to my paper. I'm going to pull it out. Ah, it's like magic. So those trees are stamped right on the embossing folder, but the ink now transferred to my paper, and it looks like you're looking at the trees behind the birches that you embossed. Okay, now, it looks like you've got a mess here and you ruined your embossing folder, but you did not ruin it. You just take a baby wipe and clean it off. And that ink goes away. So you're not going to want to use your basic black for this because that's more of a permanent ink. You're going to want to use your classic stamp pads. Those wipe off really easy with the baby wipe. Move this out of the way here. Okay, so I have this really pretty embossed and stamped card front. Well, now what am I going to do with it? So I'm going to put this together like I would a card and mount it on a few layers here. I've mentioned this before, but whenever I'm dealing with embossing folders, I like to use my liquid glue because I can get it good and wet, if you will, and glued down so that this sticks really easily to my layer that I'm mounting it on. Now for this particular card, to prepare for this, I cut this white Whisper white layer at, let's see, this is 3 3/4, and across here I've got it at 5 inches total, and then this layer behind it I did at 5 1/4 and 4. And then this we can just mount to a card base. I like to use, if I'm doing a white card base, I like to use Whisper White Thick. That looks really cool. Now I think I want to add a little something to this. Okay, I think my live feed just went down. Let me double check here. Oh, no. My computer, bear with me here, my computer lost connection, so I want to be able to see your comments. So I'm just going to refresh my page. If this happens to you guys, you can just click on the title of my page, Country Cards by Rose, and it should refresh the feed for you. But I'm still going live, so I'm going to keep going here. And if you have questions, ask. I'll catch up when the feed comes back. Okay, so I love the linen thread when I'm using kind of these natural colors. Yeah, that looks nice. Like that. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and just cut a piece off. Go ahead and wrap this around a few times. And then because I don't have anyone here to put their finger on, I like to tie this in a knot to keep it in one place. All right. Okay, we'll put this in a bow. Get this all situated how we like it. Okay, that's super easy. Looks really cool. Oh, I love that. Okay, so I don't know. I'm thinking right here I could just do a really simple happy birthday or something, huh? What do I have? I've got this happy birthday in the We Must Celebrate kit here. I think I've got a scrap of Whisper White. Yeah, that'll look really nice. Okay. Let me mount this on my block. Okay, here's another tip for you guys. I stopped putting my stickers on my clear block or my clear stamp sets because after a while they just weren't sticking very well for me. Now it could be because my blocks are dirty. Ugh, my blocks are really dirty. I need to clean them. But when my clear stamps aren't sticking, I just put a tiny drop of the liquid glue It makes it sticky, and then I can mount it. All right. I'm going to grab my artichoke ink and do this. Stamp that. Now, I'm going to have to trust myself to, you know what, I'm not. I'm going to bring in my trimmer because I'm not very good at cutting straight. Bring this in. All right. Oh, that looks nice. I actually think that this is going to look really cool just trimmed at an angle. So I'm going to do that. And love it. Okay. Now I can mount this. The linen thread is pretty nice when you don't want to have a popped up layer because it's pretty thin that we can just glue it down. Okay, I hear somebody is at my house and my dogs are probably going to bark. So just a forewarning if you hear them in the background. My husband's hauling wood, so he's probably coming home and then he comes in and lets them run. Okay, I want to pop that up over there, so let me get some of my mess cleaned up and find some dimensionals. Okay, I'm going to get my happy birthday on there and my card is done. Super easy, quick layers, using your embossing folder for more than just embossing, some quick stamping, we didn't ruin it. And the other cool thing about this is everyone's always asking me for more man cards. I think this would make the perfect card to send to your dad or your husband or just that special man that you have in your life. These are, this embossing folder is great for man cards. Now, I actually was playing around before and I made another card, using my embossing folders. I used this little piggy stamp set, and I'm going to show you another idea. Get some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, here again, my stamp that I want to use came off my block, so I'm just going to get that mounted here. Oh, I just noticed when you asked what stamp set the sentiment was from, the happy birthday or the trees. The trees came from the Lovely as a Tree, and the happy birthday sentiment I'm using comes from We Must Celebrate. Okay. I'm trying to open this up so I can see your comments as they come in. All right, much better. All right, so now I'm going to show you a card that I used, this little piggy stamp set. I've got my hexagons embossing folder, and I did something else with the embossing folder that you might not be expecting. This technique was shown to me actually by my upline, Kelly Atchison. She's awesome. And she gave me this hint last year during celebration when we had those adorable chickens, you remember, from the celebration set. Okay, so before we used our trees and we inked in our embossing folder some trees behind it. Now, I'm going to ink again in my embossing folder. I'm using Memento ink, not basic black, because Memento is going to wipe off with my baby wipe to keep my embossing folder clean. And I'm in my embossing folder here, and I'm feeling for the edges of these hexagons where those are raised. So when I'm feeling here, we've got the flat hexagons are the raised part, and over here is just the outline of them. And so what I'm going to do here is stamp these. I'm just going to take my Memento pad and very lightly go over the hexagons. Now you probably can already tell what I want to do with this set here. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my paper. I want this not perfectly straight, so I'm being very careful. Put my paper down, close my folder, press it lightly, and when I open up, I was able to ink on my paper, and I think it looks like chicken wire, like on a farm. So let me just show you again. We can clean up our embossing folder. We haven't ruined anything. I'm going to clean this up. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a full card here for you. I used this adorable little piggy. Now, I did a little Stampin' surgery to this pig. It says Hogs and Kisses under it, and I cut that part off because I don't always want to say Hogs and Kisses when I stamp this pig. And so all I did was take my scissors and I snipped that part of it off. Okay, we're going to color this piggy in. Okay, so I'm using my Stampin' Blends to color it in. I'm using dark pink pirouette and light pink pirouette. Now later I'm going to be using this other one, light smoky slate, when I color the ground around the pigs. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in here in a few of these areas with my dark, where I know I'm going to want some shading. And I'm going to want some around his nose, maybe her nose. I'm not sure if this is a girl or a boy pig. And then I like to just kind of lightly outline with my dark. Some people prefer to come in with their light first and their dark later. I like to come in typically with my dark first, because then I blend from the dark to the light with my light when I come in with that. So you can do what you prefer. That's the cool thing about these markers. Very versatile. Do what you want. I'm coming in with my light and I'm just shading in my pig. Now you notice these markers have two ends, and I'm using the broad end right now to just get this pig shaded in. And now to do some more blending, I'm going to come in with the lighter color, and I'm just going to soften up those edges a bit and blend them in with my lighter color. These markers are awesome. Look at how that shading so easily makes it look super professional. I'm honestly not very good of a colorer, but these markers make it look like I am. So I'm going to come in here now with my light smoky slate, and I just want to cover the ground a little bit of my pig. Now, I want this popped up on my card, so I'm going to do some fussy cutting. I know some of you probably don't like fussy cutting. I am finding that I like it more and more. Believe it or not, it's a little bit more stress relief, how people do those coloring books. I actually think fussy cutting is a stress relief technique too. And these pigs are really not that bad to fussy cut anyway, so this is a stamp set I tend to do more of that with. Now these paper snips are super sharp, and the ends of them are really pointy. We can very easily get into the nooks and crannies with them and get that detail cut out. So that took no time at all. Get my scraps out of the way. Okay. Now before I mount, I'm going to be popping some stuff up on dimensionals here. So before I do that, I'm going to glue this piece down. Hi, Kathy. Glad you could join. All right. So this Whisper White layer is, now let me think here. My black layer is 5 1/4 by 4, and this is just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So we've got 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 here. All right, I'm gonna want that pig popped up. So I'm gonna grab a couple dimensionals here. And we're going to put our pig in the corner. And let's see, I had a scrap. There we go. I'm going to be using this for the sentiment. I want a little something up the top here, so I'm going to bring in my burlap ribbon, which is some of my favorite. And again, we're going to be using some tape. Tape that down on the back side. Okay, now I want to tie this in with a little bit of black. So I cut a piece of the black, let's see, what's this stuff called? mini sequin trim. And I'm just gonna set that here on top of the ribbon layer. And I've got another piece of this burlap ribbon. I'm gonna slide underneath the ribbon that I just taped down. And I'm gonna tie this in a knot, which will secure the black mini sequin trim that I have. All right. And then I'm just going to trim the ends. Trim the ends here. Okay. Get my scraps out of the way. I've got a pink pirouette card base here that we're going to mount this to. And I want a sentiment and I feel like I need something here. So I actually did, with my Stampin' Surgery, the Hugs and Kisses piece that I cut off of here. I've got that mounted, and what I'm going to do is stamp it onto a piece of pink pirouette. And I want my sentiment to kind of come down this at an angle here to fill in that open white space. So what I'm doing is cutting these words apart so that I can adhere them to my card individually. I'm just trimming around the words. And I'm not being perfect about this. We're being a little bit haphazard. And I'm going to put these on to my front using some of our mini dimensionals. So we're going to go Hawks. I'm so glad Stampin' Up! Came out with these mini dimensionals so that we can adhere our smaller pieces really easily. Last one. There we go. Hugs and Kisses. Super cute. Okay, I'm going to want that popped up, so get my dimensionals again. All right. There we go. And our card is done. That was super easy and it's really cute. So he looks like he's on a farm in front of some chicken wire, right? Okay, so here's the two cards we've made. Using our embossing folders for much more than just embossing. We've got a pretty man card here, and we've got the stamped chicken wire with our pigs. We're using the same basic layout. Turned out great, I think. Thanks for watching my live and checking me out this morning, joining me as I stamped. I appreciate it, you guys. Make sure that you check out my blog. I will post all the dimensions for the cards at countrycardsbyrose.com. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks again for stopping by.